Hi, my name is Patrick Rea, the writer-director of They Wait in the Dark, and you are listening to Horror Squad Podcast.
Hello, welcome back to the Horror Squad Podcast, episode number 265. Tonight, we're talking about So I Married an Axe Murderer in honor of Valentine's Day, which is tomorrow as of our recording right now. I'm going to co-host Todd. We have Joe and we have Steve. And Steve, who we have for an interview?
So we have an interview with Patrick Rea, who is the writer-director of They Wait in the Dark, which is a brand new movie that just came out on VOD. If you want to hear my thoughts about it, I actually talked about it on my What Watch last week. We got the interview like right after we recorded the episode. So figure why not? A really cool guy, very interesting interview. And that movie is kind of a low-budget film. And it's interesting for him to say like of some of the problems they had, because it was a low budget film. For example, the most of the movie takes place in an abandoned house, and apparently they were renovating it as they were filming. So they'd come in and say, okay, well, we're doing a kitchen tomorrow. So they had to film all their kitchen scenes like right before they renovate it and make it look nice. So it's interesting stories he had. That's at the end of the episode.
And what was the title for that movie again?
They Wait in the Dark.
Sweet. Mm-hmm. Well, we had Super Bowl.
Yes, we did.
Oh, God. What happened with that?
Go Chiefs. The refs apparently decided that they wanted to pick the Super Bowl winner this year, and I am all for it because
it was a really good, despite me not liking both teams, that was a really great game until the final like minute and a half where they just let him play, man. Just let him play. Unless it's like crazy, like an obvious foul. But geez, dude, decide the game because of that.
Yeah, absolutely. Mm-hmm. But speaking of Super Bowl, you guys know what's coming. Finally, the Chiefs have fucking, made me win after 2 years. The past 2 years they were in it, they made me lose. So I picked something extra special for both of you this time as a punishment film. Each of you are going to get something different because I like to kind of suit it for your taste and everything. So we're going to start with Joe. Joe, I'm going to give you something that I watched very recently. Actually, I watched with people from our Discord because I had nothing to do one night, and I figured, let's check something out. And it's in support of one of your good buddies. This is Damien Maffei's very first starring role in a movie called Closed for the Season, which you can find over on Tubi.
So lovely. Well, I mean, since Damien's in it, looking forward to it, I guess.
Yeah, it's a very typical
just
Damien
to see him
film.
in it. Yeah, just to see him in it alone. That's a bit of a treat, I guess.
Here's a snapshot for you, Joe. It's a 2.3 on Letterboxd, and Cody, half star. Steve, half star. Chuck, 1 star. So, oof, brutal.
All right. Well, I'll message Damien and I'll let him know that someone picked it as a punishment movie and see what his thoughts are on that movie. He's very honest, I will say, with his movies. So I'll try to get his thoughts for next week on his experience with that movie.
I love that on Letterboxd, a quarter of the reviews are from our podcast, and they're all unfortunately all negative. But so yeah, he can blame us for the low score on that movie.
All right. Well, on my What Watched, I was the third person to write a review for one of my What Watch movies this week. So I was very excited about that. So there's only three reviews on Letterboxd.
I love doing that. Like, I love finding movies that I'm either the only one or the first one or in the first like 5. Yeah, it's usually a bad thing, but still an honor. And Todd, oh boy, Todd, you fucked up by picking Philadelphia. So you made fun of me for watching this, I think last week, which put it into my head, and I feel bad that I'm the only person who's seen this. So I figure I need someone to share the pain with. So, oh yes, Todd will be watching another versus movie, not Freddy versus Jason, but Trump versus the Illuminati.
No, why?
Which I had to suffer through. So I think
you
it's
didn't
only
have
fair.
to. You did
I didn't have to, but
dang it, 1.4. Oh my god.
So enjoy that, buddy. It's at least yours is like an hour. Joe's is like fucking 7 years to watch that one. So it's a long fucking movie, Closed for a Season. So.
Besides the two people that obviously worked on this film on Letterboxd giving a 5-star review. The highest review is a 2. So, oof.
Yeah,
Brutal.
I don't know if Efemer gave it a half star or a 1 star. It's probably half star for me. but
You gave it a half.
yeah, it
Ugh.
deserves
All
a
right.
half.
Damn it.
So enjoy your punishment. That's what you get for picking the Eagles.
All right. Well, I'll be in 6 months. So I'll be sure to share my review, just like I did with
Exactly.
Pappy's Graveyard. So
It'll take you 6 months to fucking watch this movie.
how long is it? Is it like 2 hours?
Yeah, it's like an hour and 50 minutes, but man, you will feel every second of it.
Yeah, that's a punishment.
Yeah, absolutely. So anything new other than that with you guys? It's a Valentine's Day week, so anything fun planned?
Indeed. No, we actually celebrated over the weekend. Just went out to a nice dinner. Nothing really spooky or horror related there. Yeah, just simple, effective, enjoyable.
Did you guys do that thing you always do? With that?
No, the anti-Valentine's tour. Is that
No,
what
don't you
we're
guys
talking
get
about, or-
the hotel downtown?
Oh no, we didn't actually. No, we didn't do that this year. No, we just decided to save money and not do that. So yeah,
Nice.
we just went out to a fancy dinner, and then yeah, just came back here and we watched something. I don't even remember what, but we watched So I Married an Axe Murderer together though.
Oh,
So
did you?
I can share.
There she goes. There she goes again.
No, God.
Exactly. What about you guys? Anything planned?
Nothing for me. I'm wifeless still. So, what about you, Steve?
Yeah, so it was actually my wife's birthday today, the day we're recording. So it's like a double thing. So we had a party for her and stuff on Saturday, and then we just had dinner last night, and ordered from a restaurant and stuff and watch movies. So nothing too crazy.
Happy birthday to her.
Oh, I'll let her know. I did have a hell of a wake up though this morning. A house 5 minutes away from me blew up, and it was 6:15 in the morning when that happened. It was a house that had nobody in it. It was under construction, and the gas line blew up. And I thought, because it's winter here, I get a service to plow my driveway and stuff. I thought the plow rammed my house, because the entire house shook and a big bang. It was crazy. Just wow, what a way to wake up on a Monday morning. But I'm far enough that it didn't really do anything. Just really a loud noise. It was crazy. Apparently, I saw videos online. It the house blew up. It was insane, like a movie. Good times.
Wild. What did you? So speaking of the Super Bowl, what did you guys think of the commercials? Any favorites that stick out in your head?
No, but you guys saying stuff might refresh my memory.
One of them for me that stood out is that a lot of Americans learned that football was invented in Canada.
Bro, that's some bullshit. It's ours.
A Dave Grohl
We took
commercial, I believe, that did that one. I also really liked. So I'm not a big fan. I don't like Ezra Miller, and you can listen to my other podcast, the Let's Be Geek and Gaming podcast, as to why. But seeing fucking Michael Keaton Batman was just, oh man, goosebumps. So that's probably my 2 highlights.
Yeah, that was cool. I wasn't expecting that, seeing Michael Keaton Batman and the Batmobile original and stuff. So that was really awesome. Boston was on full display. Got a couple of commercials in there. A good Sam Adams one and Ben Affleck Dunkin' Donuts one. So those ones were pretty fun. And yeah, I don't know. I had read there was a Scream 6 trailer, but I must have missed it because I totally did not see it.
I don't think so.
No, I didn't see
Yeah.
that.
We would have seen on Bloody Disgusting today. I know they released a bunch of posters of basically the whole cast pretending like they could be Ghostface, holding a knife and stuff. But no, I don't think that there was a trailer or even a teaser.
Yeah, nothing really horror I can even think of besides horror adjacent. The Undertaker was in a commercial.
Yeah, The Undertaker was in it, and Will Ferrell did a play on Army of the Dead.
Oh, with the zombies. Yeah,
and
that one was
Stranger
kind of
Things.
cool.
Yeah,
Yeah, I enjoyed that one. Yeah.
That's about all the horror that I noticed. Oh, and that movie 65, which I guess is horror adjacent as well. The one
I think that's
with
pretty cool.
Adam Driver.
I'm into it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so
Nice. All right, folks, you want to get into some horror news?
let's do it.
All right, let's get into horror news this week. And the biggest story that has come out recently is we are going to be getting a new I Know What You Did Last Summer movie. And of course, no surprise, everyone's favorite word, the requel of I Know What You Did Last Summer, as it is being reported that Jennifer Love Hewitt and Freddie Prinze Jr. are going to be coming back to reprise their roles for this new movie. The project's still in very early development. Jennifer Robinson has been brought in to direct the film, credited for Do Revenge, not something I'm too familiar with. It sounds like obviously they're taking the trendy legacy sequel, a la Halloween and Scream. So yeah, I mean, I don't know. What do you guys think about this?
I just watched all of them a few months ago, not that long ago. I just don't like that series. It's not one of my favorite series. So seeing a requel of it is not very exciting to me at all. Great that they got the cast back and everything, but I don't care. Didn't they have a TV series too? Or they still have? I have no idea. At some point,
yeah, they did. It got canceled, I think, after the one season. Sam, I think, watched it. I can't remember if she liked it or not, though. But
Boo. That's all I got.
That's all you got.
I'll watch it if we're forced to watch it.
Yeah, I think we'll definitely end up having to cover this since we've covered all of the other ones. We did. I think that was Sam's last episode she ever did. We did. I Know What You Did Last Summer 1 and 2, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, we didn't do 3, but 3 had nothing to talk about. So.
Yeah, right. So yeah, I mean, I think we'll definitely cover it. I agree. I don't really care, but I'm somewhat, I guess, excited because, the legacy characters are coming back. But will it be good? Probably not, because I agree with Steve. This franchise isn't all that memorable, honestly. I don't know why there's so much love for it, really. I think it's more because of the cast, right? It had Sarah Michelle Gellar, Ryan Philippe, and
a bunch of hotties, dude.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
it was
and all
very,
crying,
very
right?
90s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah.
What are you waiting for?
All right. Well, the next big piece of news is in Dexter news, as the network has ordered an origin story prequel, as well as a spin-off, I believe, as well, about the Trinity Killer, if I'm not mistaken. Steve, he's shaking his head, so I assume so. So the origin story will be set in Dexter's hometown of Miami. It will touch on stories of real-life serial killers of the time period. And then the origins will dramatize young Dexter Morgan at the outset of his transition into the avenging serial killer he would become, set in the Miami that was a hotbed of real serial killers of his time. The show will begin as Dexter graduates college to join Miami Metro, where he meets younger versions of many of the characters we came to know in the original show. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm personally not a Dexter watcher. I can't say I'm not a fan per se, because I've never really gave it a shot. But yeah, I don't know. Steve, Todd. I know Steve's a big Dexter fan. What are your feelings on these 2 new Dexter shows?
So there's actually 3 new Dexter shows.
3.
I don't know if, yeah, they're also doing a sequel to a continuation of Dexter, which is going to be focused on his son Harrison, who's just going to essentially continue his dad's legacy and presumably become a serial killer as well. So 3 new Dexter shows that we're getting. You know what? I really, really like the Dexter series, despite its really terrible ending the first time. Second ending was not as bad when they redid it last year. The only problem is, without Michael C. Hall, it's just not Dexter to me. It's to me, without Harrison Ford, it's not Indiana Jones. And it's just, that's kind of the problem, that I don't see any of these shows really succeeding if they don't have Michael C. Hall in it. And it can't be for the college years, because he's going to be too young. Trinity, he only meets him right at the end of his life, so it wouldn't feature him either. I don't know, and Trinity's one of those things, it's cool because he was a serial killer for 1 season, but I think the little we knew about him was actually better, because then he was more mysterious and stuff like that. It's a whole show about him. I don't know. I'll try him, I guess, but I'm not that excited about him.
I thought we had an origins already in the original Dexter series where, his dad figures out he has homicidal tendencies and teaches them. So I don't know why we're getting this.
It doesn't go up until when he started really at Metro. It was more about his childhood. So yeah, I guess that's what they're going for, is when he first started his job.
Mm-hmm. Is the newest season, the last one, is it worth it, Steve?
I would, yeah. Especially to fucking take that bad taste out of your mouth from the original one. Yeah,
So
the
fucking
Hurricane
stupid.
one. And it's got Clancy Brown as the villain. And
Nice.
I love Clancy
It's
Brown.
great.
And what he does is fucking creepy. So yeah, I'd say it's worth at least a watch.
Alrighty, awesome. We'll keep you guys up to date on anything new Dexter we hear. Next bit of news here, a little bit of exciting tease, I suppose, for our upcoming Wes Craven retrospective series that are we going to be coming out with sometime this summer. Swamp Thing is being redeveloped by James Gunn and DC Studios. The upcoming movie is going to investigate the dark origins of Swamp Thing, with various other DC characters joining him in the film. This will be a much more horrific film, but we'll still have Swamp Thing interact with other characters Gunn teased during the massive unveiling at a recent press conference. Now, Swamp Thing, as of late, not been the most successful franchise. They tried it, of course, the TV series with Derek Mears. That was very short-lived. I don't even think they finished the entire season of that. It might have got dumped. I'm not sure. But yeah, I don't know. What do you guys think? James Gunn taking over Swamp Thing? Good idea?
Sure. The Wes Craven one, right? Didn't you mention that? That one's terrible. I don't know when the last time you guys saw that one was, but holy crap, that movie's bad. So I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, that's actually my next on my on the docket for Wes Craven movies.
It's awful, man.
Yeah, I'm sure. So yeah, so I'm pretty excited about it. I like James Gunn's style. They just did Man-Thing over at Marvel in Werewolf by Night, and that was really fucking cool. So they can definitely do Swamp Thing as well. And I thought the show was actually pretty good. I think just people didn't give it a shot because it's such an obscure character. So yeah, I'd totally be down to see a Swamp Thing movie from James Gunn. The only problem is, and this is a kind of a more of a DC problem, is that I find he's taking on too many projects right now. And if you take on too many projects, I just feel that at some point he's going to crash and burn. So I think he should probably give this to someone else. But if he does himself, cool, because he's a pretty good horror director for the ones he has done.
Absolutely. I get what intrigued me most, I guess, in this write-up was that they planned on bringing other DC characters into the universe. Which characters would be a good fit for that? You guys, Steve, you're more the comic book guy. I mean, what do you think? What would be involved?
I think it would be some of the more obscure dark characters. Like, I don't know if DC also has Dracula and some of the like werewolves, and because I know Marvel does. They have like a Dracula comic, they have a werewolf comic, and I think DC did something similar. So I would expect it to be kind of along those same lines as, like I said, Werewolf by Night, which, had it been a full-length movie as opposed to a 15-minute movie, would have ended up being my number one film of 2022. So I really like that one. So people should check that out to get an idea of what maybe to expect for Swamp Thing.
Mm-hmm. All right, awesome. All right, next bit of news. File this one under 7 to 10 years too late, but production has finally begun on Blumhouse's Five Nights at Freddy's. The movie is going to be starring Matthew Lillard, Josh Hutcherson, and Mary Stuart Masterson, with Emma Tammy, who directed The Wind, a horror movie some of you guys might have seen from a few years ago. That one was actually not bad, but quite a different take compared to Five Nights at Freddy's. That one's more of a, I guess, A24-esque type movie there. So I'll be interested to see what she does with this one. Interestingly enough, too, Jim Henson's Creature Shop is going to be creating the monsters for this movie. So that should be pretty cool. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. You guys excited for this one?
Well, you nailed it. I think that was really big with my kids about 6 years ago. So similar with that Slender Man movie that came out, 5 or so years ago, where they missed the mark like by years and no one cared at that point. But Matthew Lillard, dude, if he brings that energy, dude, like, whew, I would love to see him in a movie where he turns it back on.
Yeah, I agree 100%. It's too late. It's like that Tiger King movie that came out not too long ago. Nobody watched it because nobody gave a shit because it's too late. That wave is gone. And I think it's the same thing with Five Nights at Freddy's. I just don't see, unless they do something really fucking cool and unique, they have an uphill battle, if you ask me.
Yeah, I'd be interested to see if they're gonna go like full-fledged horror with this one, or if they're gonna kind of make it a family-friendly type thing. I'm assuming they'll probably make it like a PG-13 style horror movie, but could surprise us. We'll see. All right, next bit of news here is Damien Leone, who, of course, we had on recently for Terrifier 2. Well, big news for him. With the success of Terrifier 2, some doors have opened for him, and he currently teased that he is developing a brand new original project with Ghost House Pictures, Sam Raimi's production company. So big news for him. He didn't tease exactly what the movie is going to be about or anything like that, but they are in talks right now to develop a new movie with him. Of course, he's also currently writing Terrifier 3 as we speak. So some big stuff coming up for Terrifier 2's Damien Leone. So good luck to him. We wish him nothing but the best. Next bit of news here. Did you guys watch the Let the Right One In television series over on Showtime?
No.
No.
All right. Well, no one did apparently, because it has been canceled after one season. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know. Both movies, I think, were actually really good. I don't know why this one failed. I guess
there are too many fucking TV shows on television. That's why
that
it failed.
too. Yeah.
If you're not fucking top tier, your show is just not going to make it in this market anymore.
Yeah, very true. Very true. Yeah, I mean, I finally caught up with The Last of Us, and my God, what a great show that has been.
That's a good one.
Yeah, fantastic. So definitely check that out if you haven't yet. All right, just a couple more pieces of news to get through here. Screenbox recently announced they're going to be releasing a documentary on Robert Englund, not the one Todd was trashing on, the Fred Heads documentary from a few weeks ago when we reported on that. This one is going to cover the career and life of Robert Englund.
That's what we want to see. There we go.
Yes. So that will be coming out. No release date yet, but it is going to be coming out very, very soon. But they are going to go over anything and everything. And they're also going to have interviews with a lot of horror icons: Lynn Shay, Eli Roth, Kane Hodder, Tony Todd, Adam Green, Bill Moseley, Heather Langenkamp, and much more. So check that out on Screenbox sometime this year. And the last bit of news here is file this one under, just remember this name, The Occupant. The Occupant right now is there's a massive bidding war going on with the script for this movie. It is a 39-page haunted house story. All of the major studios currently are in a bidding war for it. There have been at least 6 different bids that have come in, and also some of big names in the genre. So obviously you would think Blumhouse, Ghost House Pictures, whatnot. But The Occupant was written by Victor Swiester, and the story is of a 100-year-old Victorian home offered up for free, with the caveat the new owner has to put it on a flatbed and move it from the lot it occupies. The story begins cleverly with texts back and forth between a husband and wife who cannot get over their good luck to be chosen to take the house. Naturally, we learn there's no such thing as a free house. So just follow that one. They're saying, that one could be the next big thing in horror, The Occupant. And finally tonight, a rest in peace to actor and stuntman George P. Wilbur. Of course, he played most famously Michael Myers in Halloween Part 4 and also in Halloween 6. So rest in peace, George P. Wilbur. He was 81 years old.
Nice.
And that is it for horror news this week.
Question: when was the last time we got like a solid just ghost house movie, like haunting movie? Would it be
The Conjuring?
Conjuring? Yeah.
Yeah,
Like
but that's
2?
That's still like a while ago.
Yeah, that was a serious ghost house. That's
Yeah, you're right. I don't know why I didn't think of Conjuring.
I get like Haunting of Hill House.
And, yeah, Haunting of Hill House for a TV show is definitely.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Yeah.
Watched.
Well, first, can't forget.
Oh,
a little coffee break.
Oh,
and of course, when we do that, it means it's our ad for Deadly Grounds Coffee.
Everyone thinks because you're a zombie, you don't know good coffee. Well, they're wrong. There's only one brew that gets my seal of approval. Deadly Grounds Coffee is my guilty pleasure. The aroma is so intoxicating. It brings all of my neighbors out of the woodwork. Deadly Grounds Coffee. Coffee to die for and zombie approved. It's good to get a little deadly.
Use the front door!
Oh, they're so disgusting.
how do you guys take your coffee? Like lots of cream, sugar, black?
Black.
Black?
No,
You,
I put a little bit of milk and a little bit of sugar.
just a little bit? Dude, I'm fucking making that shit almost white. With the amount
Yeah.
of cream and put in there, dude, a little French vanilla.
Yeah, 90% of the time I go black, and then once in a while I'll get something like a specialty drink from like Starbucks or something like that.
Yeah, cool. All right, what watched?
Do it.
Yes, sir.
I feel like I have to defend Skinamarink slightly here. I finished it, and I won't go into what it's about because everyone's been talking about it's like the hot topic for the last 2.5 weeks or so. Long story short, I did not hate it as much as Steve, and I liked it a little bit more than Joe did. And you know what? This movie had the makings of being a really fucking cool movie. There were scenes that I thought were genuinely terrifying. Like some of the voice work was really cool. Like there's a scene where the demonic presence or whatever tells the boy to put the knife in your eye. And I'm like, that's fucking demented. There's some other voice stuff like that just coming off screen. And then also too, I felt like at times it did a really good job of putting you in a child's perspective. I think the camera angles really played with that. But unfortunately, and the bedroom scene was really cool too, where the dad's been missing for 40 minutes and then you see him sitting there and like, and he's like, look under the bed. You're like, don't look under the bed, kid. But unfortunately, man, for like every cool scene we got, which, 2 or 3 solid scenes, we have just stupid artsy bullshit of looking at like a Lego or the same cartoon over and over again, or like the corner of a wall. And it sucks because like there's some really cool groundwork done with like items being stuck to the walls and the ceiling and stuff like that. And like I mentioned before, the off-screen voices, but it just never got there. Like I thought at times it would get like, oh, we got momentum. Let's keep it going. Let's keep ramping it up, ramp it up, ramp it up. But unfortunately, it would have a scene where you're like, fuck yeah, let's go. And then it drops back to the boredom. And I think that kills the movie. I would be definitely interested in seeing what this director does in the future. I did look up his filmography, and I think it's a short film that's like very similar to this one. So this might be like his calling card, kind of like artsy, different, whatever. But unfortunately, this overall is a miss. But I can see potential in the filmmaker. So that's Skinamarink. I give it a 2 out of 5 on Letterboxd.
Very nice. I also gave it a 2 out of 5. So there we go.
Oh, we liked it equally then.
Yeah. And yeah, I basically like echo everything you just said on that movie too. All right, my first one tonight is from 1986. It is part of my Wes Craven retrospective going into it. I watched Deadly Friend. Now, I was really excited to watch this one because I had seen a lot of people say it was similar to Megan in a lot of ways, like that Megan borrowed heavily off of this one. I don't know if I would 100% agree with that, but I could see, I guess, why some people might think that. But yeah, this one is about a young man who I believe he gets like a scholarship, to come to this school. He's like basically like a genius, a teenager genius. And he moves in to this new town because he gets this scholarship. He has this robot that he built and whatnot, named BB. Did they steal this? Star Wars steal it? BB-8? Maybe. I don't know. Can't confirm nor deny. We'll have to see when the lawsuit is done.
Ooh.
Yeah, I'm filing.
They're gonna lose to Disney.
But anyway, so he builds this robot and stuff like that. He kind of is introducing this robot to his neighborhood and stuff like that. And then he meets the girl next door, played by Christy Swanson. They kind of have this cute little, puppy love relationship type thing. But we come to find out that the father is very protective, very abusive. And one night they get in an argument. He pushes down the stairs and kills her. And then the boyfriend character, whatever you want to call him, our main character, ends up so distraught over this that he decides to put the chip from the robot into her to try to save her life. And from there, it's just us following this character taking care of this thing he's created, sort of a Frankenstein-esque, girl. And that's pretty much the movie. I ended up actually really enjoying this one for what it was. It's very 80s, no doubt about that. I don't know if it was filmed where they filmed The Burbs, but the set looks exactly the same. Steve, you're shaking your head. Is that where they filmed it?
No, I'm not sure if it is, but it looks very much like a lot of suburban films. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
It reminded me a lot of The Burb where they filmed this. But it's, yeah, I mean, it feels very like small town and stuff like that. I really liked Christy Swanson in this. I thought she gives a pretty good performance. Yeah, I mean, the movie's kind of all over the place. You know, like I said, it's kind of like, it's part like robot movie, and then I thought it was gonna be like a robot movie for a lot of time, and then the robot ends up disappearing, and then yeah, it's like a zombie Frankenstein mix. So there's a lot going on here, and I'm starting to learn this more with Craven movies I'm watching, is that he took risks. Like, he does, every movie is very different than the next. You know, he's definitely not a one-trick pony. So, I'll give him props for that. What I found really interesting in this movie is that this movie had a lot of studio interference as well. Craven actually did not even want this to be a horror movie, but the studio made him make it a horror movie, and they ended up doing like a bunch of reshoots and stuff like that. And it definitely shows. You know, this definitely wasn't his full vision, but for what it is, I think it's a pretty solid movie. It's very entertaining. I was never really bored by it or anything like that. And honestly, like, I was ready to rate this like a 4 out of 5 on Letterboxd, but then the ending was so fucking like out there and stupid. Like, it was definitely like, it had to have been studio like interference. It was like, all right, we gotta like throw this in at the end or something like that. But it was so fucking dumb that like I just laughed. I'm like, what the fuck was that? And they're like, maybe it's not the studio, because Craven does that with like, after watching Nightmare on the Ending and Nightmare on Elm Street and Deadly Blessing. There's just some weird shit. I don't know why he does it, but yeah, we'll get into it more when we do our Craven retrospective later. But overall, I thought this was a pretty fun watch. I give it a 3.5 over on Letterboxd out of 5.
all right, my first one this week is a movie I watched over on Tubi, and depending on which territory you're in, it's either called Final Prayer or The Borderlands. So it's one of the two. So this movie is a found footage movie, and basically there's weird shit like paranormal stuff that's been happening at a church, and they recorded it, they sent it to the Vatican, and the Vatican sends a technician, a Vatican investigator, and a priest to go determine whether or not it's actually a miracle or just another hoax. So the story follows the three characters as they go to this church with their camera equipment and try to figure out whether the paranormal events that are happening in that church are real or not. So that's basically the gist of the story. This marries two things I really love about horror. I like found footage films, and I love religious horror. So I was like really psyched to watch this. I don't even remember who recommended this to me, but someone did at some point, because I put it on my watch list on Letterboxd, and it was all right. I think the movie, for the most of it, is actually really good, and I was really, really interested to find out what was happening. There were some really scary fucking scenes in this too, which I really loved. And when it's found footage, I tend to get more into the scares, because it just seems like more real, even though I know it's not. But unfortunately, I find that the ending left a little bit to be desired. It was a little too crazy and a little too, like, quote unquote fake, you know? But I think it's still a fun movie to watch. If you like found footage or religious films or both, like in my case, I think you should at least check this one out at least once, because it is still a pretty good movie. So that's Final Prayer / The Borderlands on Tubi, which I gave 3 out of 5 stars on Letterboxd.
All right. Lastly, I rewatched AVP Alien versus Predator from 2004. Long story short, man, Antarctica, there's a old pyramid discovered by Weyland-Yutani. So they go over there to fucking investigate, because they want to be the first there and all that crap. So we learned that the predators use Earth as a hunting world. Every 100 years or so, they come back to Earth and they, start things up again. But unfortunately, this time the humans triggered it early. So the alien xenomorphs, they wake up and they start, breeding and all that crap. The problems that I've had with it, are still there. The predator teaming up with the human, regardless if she's a female or not. Predator, their whole culture is to fucking honor, right? And they're above everybody. So man or woman, they would not pick a human to fight alongside. So that's such a stupid aspect. And then 2, it's just like traditional for the time shaky cam. Like, we want to see Predator and Alien fight. Do not cut away from the action. Do not cut back to the human characters, which we do not care about, which unfortunately I do a lot of this film. That being said, though, it's super fun to see the queen alien breaking out and the xenomorphs hunting and the predators going at it. It's really freaking cool. I wish there was more of it, but the stuff that we saw I thought was extremely well done, especially the warrior alien that kind of gets his own character, right? Usually they're just faceless enemies, but this dude, he takes out two predators and then he almost gets killed. So it turns into like he has a scar pattern on his head, and then we see him throughout, and like you can root for him, root against him, whatever. But it's super cool to see them go at it. So bullshit aside, I think it's still a solid film, and I gave it a 3.5 out of 5.
Very nice. All right, my last one tonight, 2023 release, movie called The Stationary Bike. This one actually based on a Stephen King story. Props Stephen King sold the rights to this for $1 to the filmmakers. So kudos to him for doing that. This movie is very low budget indie, but yeah, so this one is about a gentleman who goes to the doctors, and the doctor is basically like, listen, you're very overweight, your cholesterol is really high, you're putting yourself in an early grave. So he takes this to heart, and while walking one day he sees an advertisement for a stationary bike for sale. He buys the stationary bike, takes it home, and he does the work. He ends up losing a bunch of weight, super healthy and stuff. Sort of becomes an obsession riding on this stationary bike. And the more weight he loses, he starts to have these like weird dreams and visions of sort of workers on the street turning into zombies and stuff like that. And I'll just leave it at that. But yeah, for a low budget movie, I thought it was done really well. It's really well acted. The makeup work is very poor though, like very bad. Especially like the fat makeup on our main actor here. It just like looks really, really bad. And then the zombie makeup on the construction workers is really poor as well. But other than that, I ended up enjoying this one. I think like any Stephen King story though, the ending leaves a lot to be desired. But it's only 55 minutes long, so it's like a really easy breezy watch. And yeah, overall, it's not bad. You could do a hell of a lot worse, like Steve could tell you, finding these, really low budget indie movies on Tubi and whatnot. So yeah, I gave it 2.5 out of 5 for the effort. I think it's probably doesn't deserve, maybe not even deserve that high of a rating, but I think that there was a lot of love put into it, and I appreciate, it for what it was. So yeah, that's The Stationary Bike.
Yeah, Stephen King always sells his scripts for $1 if he believes in the director. If it's a studio that buys it, then he goes full price. So he did Shawshank was $1. Yeah, so just to go show you. So my last food movie of the week is a movie I watched over on Shudder. It's a 2020 film called Peninsula. So this is the spiritual sequel to Train to Busan. It's a Korean film. In this one, it takes place 4 years after the events of Train to Busan. Basically, Korea has been condemned, and somehow they managed to contain the virus in Korea. So it's really the only place that you can't go to anymore. It follows a character who, he kind of lost everything as he was escaping Korea, and he doesn't have much to live for anymore. He has his brother-in-law that he's still with, and he gets a deal with some like criminals to go back to Korea by boat to steal a truck full of American money, because American money is still worth a lot in the real world. So he says, if you go get that truck of American money, we're going to give you half when you come back, which is essentially going to give him enough money to be able to kind of live a better life, because apparently the people who escape from Korea are having a hard time in wherever they are, because they're not given like full citizenship. So this would kind of buy them freedom, which they don't currently have. So they go to this island and a bunch of stuff happens. Of course, there are people who still live in Korea and they're still kind of running rampant. You have the typical like big gang that is kind of running the streets in that city in Korea. And then you have the family who isn't part of that big gang, who are just trying to survive and get off the island. They get captured by the gang, and then they have like fucking pit fights with zombies. It's a very like basic zombie plot. The best way I could describe this movie is if, and I hate to say this, and I'm sorry, I don't want to make it mean like it's an awful thing, but they really Americanized at Train to Busan. It's like Fast and the Furious took over this franchise and like, let's make our movie, because it's a lot of car chases, it's a lot of big action sequences and explosions and gunfights and stuff like that. So it's really everything Train to Busan wasn't. Train to Busan was really about heart and passion and caring for people and helping each other out, whereas this one is just essentially a big action horror film. As a zombie film and like a entertainment piece, I actually liked it. You know, it's ridiculous at times, but it was super high action. I was never bored. They're, like I said, they're great like fight scenes, they're great car scenes. It was a thrilling ride, you know. So I do appreciate it as a zombie film, but as a fucking sequel to Train to Busan, fuck that film. Like, it is nothing like Train to Busan. It should just remove the name and just call it Peninsula, because other than it happening within the same world, it has nothing to do with Train to Busan whatsoever. There's no returning characters. They don't reference the events of Train to Busan other than the zombie apocalypse. So I gave it a 3.5 because I did enjoy watching it, but it's disappointing that one of my favorite horror films ever, Train to Busan, has such a essentially sequel that doesn't do it justice at all.
Man, I hated that movie. I'm surprised you liked it so much, honestly.
It's fun. Like, it's, you know, if you take out the Train to Busan name on it, I think it's just one of those like fun, you know,
That
Korean
car
zombie
was super
movies.
reliable, whatever they were using.
Oh my god, yeah, it was the
Like thousands of zombies are just plowing through them. Like, Jesus.
the 5-year-old driving it. Yeah.
Mario Kart, man. Start them early.
Right.
All right, trivia.
Let's do it.
All right, so the points are as follows: Joe in a commanding lead at 11, myself in second place with 8, and Steve with a solid 6. Oh, let's get her done. Who would like to go first?
I'll start us off
Are you
tonight.
wearing a Teen Wolf shirt, Joe?
No, it's Pennywise.
Okay, I saw like the
Yeah.
head. All right. I wonder if they are Teen Wolf shirts.
I
If
wish.
so, I want one.
I'm
There's
sure
gotta
there are.
be. Yeah, there's gotta be. All right, so I'm doing something a little different tonight for my first. It's sort of a new little game here.
Okay.
So I'm gonna go on IMDb, and I'm gonna give you a bunch of information, and you try to guess the movie.
Thought we were
All
doing
right,
strip
so-
trivia, but okay, this works too.
So this movie currently sitting at a 4.8 out of 10 on
Okay.
IMDb,
Got it.
an 18 Metascore. Cast of characters: Paige Prescott, Adam Carr, Kate Davies, Dorothy Wheeler,
These
Lily
are-
Voigt.
Is this
These are
characters or
actors.
actors?
These are the
Yeah.
characters. No, these are the characters.
What
Oh,
was the last one you said? Lily.
I'll repeat the characters.
Okay, thank you.
Paige Prescott, Adam Carr, Kate Davies, Dorothy Wheeler, Lily Voigt, Shelley Fisher. Director: Jamie Blanks, and the writers: Tom Savage, Donner Powers, and others.
And others. Oh.
This movie also won a Chainsaw Award for Worst Film of the Year.
Pete Elsier.
And it won, and it was nominated for a Teen Choice Award for Favorite Horror Movie.
Oh,
Oh,
go figure.
God.
Go figure.
Slender Man.
Incorrect. Oh, I didn't give you the year either. I'll give you the year too. 2001.
Oh, Jesus.
2001. That's
It's a lot of information there.
That's a lot of information that
none of them
tells me
ring a bell.
nothing. It's a whole lot of talk with no substance at all. I have no fucking idea. Like 2001, what the fuck would have been? Is
That
this a
was you-
sequel? Or is this just a original?
It is not a sequel.
Okay.
Worst film Chainsaw Award, huh? Yeah, I have no freaking clue.
Me neither.
All right. Well, you should have thought about tonight's theme for Valentine's Day, because the movie is Valentine.
Oh,
Yeah.
ugh, that movie sucks.
It does.
All right. All mine are on behalf of Kayla. Thank you very much. So you guys have to go closest within 500 years, give or take, okay?
500 years. Okay.
Yes, and here's the question. What year did Ash get transported back to in The Army of Darkness?
Oh, God.
I'm gonna go.
2,000 years.
I'm gonna go.
No, I need the
600.
I need the
Oh,
year.
you need the
Give me the
actual
damn
year.
year.
600.
All right.
I'd say 1600s.
16. Oh, the 1600s?
Sure.
I fucking suck at math. The answer's 1300.
Yeah, he's good. Joe gets the point.
Okay. That's funny. Damn it. He's at 12 points now. Son of a bitch.
Yeah.
All right.
Teen Wolf shirt.
So mine are all Steve originals tonight. This is a regular question.
Okay.
What's the title of the Halloween/horror special that Mike Myers was a star of?
Oh,
Oh,
that was a thing. I don't even know what this was.
Just
What's
if you listen to it carefully, you might have an idea of what it could be. So, what's the title of the Halloween/horror special that Mike Myers was the star of?
Halloween horror special.
No. Yeah, that's the type of movie, but not.
Halloween.
I was thinking of something from Halloween 6, but I might be way off on that.
No, that's nothing.
No? Okay, that was wrong.
Mike
Yeah, I'm
Myers,
not
not Michael
even-
Myers.
I'm not even sure.
Oh,
of
Mike
these.
Myers.
Oh, Mike Myers. Oh, okay. I was thinking Michael Myers.
This fucking failed poet. Okay,
Yeah.
rephrase. Okay, now that I know the actor.
Okay.
Austin Powers Halloween special.
Wrong.
That'd be awesome. Shrek.
I need the
Halloween
title.
special.
Oh,
It is a Shrek.
no.
Because I've seen this. I can't. I don't know what it's called. Shrek and Donkeys Halloween Spectacular.
wrong.
Spooktacular.
You want to give it a shot, Todd?
Sure. Shrek's Halloween extravaganza.
No. So the movie is called Scared Shrekless.
Okay.
Oh, I like it.
Mm-hmm.
Fun.
It's actually pretty fun too.
Yeah, I watched it recent. Like I want to say within the last couple of years. Well, yeah, it was fun. Okay, back to me.
Mhm.
Match the killer to the movie.
Okay.
Charlie Walker.
My Bloody Valentine.
Incorrect.
Charlie Walker. The Prowler?
Incorrect.
Shitballs.
I can't think of anything else.
He had a sidekick as well.
Killer sidekick, huh? So there's two. Valentine.
Incorrect.
Damn it! I thought you were going Valentine again.
Yeah,
Son of a bitch.
I don't know.
All right. Well, last week I gave you Roman from Scream 2. Tonight I'm giving you Charlie Walker from Scream 4,
Oh, jeez.
Oh,
Yeah.
along with Jill Roberts, his
This is, okay.
partner in crime.
got it. All right. In the House on Haunted Hill remake, how much money would you win by staying the night?
$1 million.
Million, correct. Steve with the first million.
Yes. All right. So this is guess the movie based off the IMDb review.
Ooh.
Okay. So you have four. There are four possible, four clues that I'm giving out to
Okay.
pick, your choice wisely. Two things I took away from this: necrophilia has never been hotter, and Julie's best friend Nora is definitely a lesbian. I just know.
Julie's best
Ooh.
friend Nora. Okay.
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 Next one. Just once, can we get a movie where John Malkovich's character isn't frustratingly insane? I don't think it's too much to ask.
Warm Bodies.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. Next
All right.
one's where Dave Franco's eyebrows make me uncomfortable, and I don't know why. And the last one was the literal apocalypse can happen, and emo dudes will still get demented sense of ownership towards any thin blonde thing that treats them with basic dignity.
I like it. That's a good
Nice.
movie, man, and a good book too.
Mm.
Stand by that book.
Joe.
Back to me.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right.
Last one.
I swear to God,
That's
if any
one.
of these are axe murder questions, I'm gonna protest.
Woman.
Fuck. No.
All right. So 3 letterbox reviews.
Mm.
You guessed the movie.
Mm.
All right. This has to be one of my most watched 80s slashers. It was also one of my first horror DVDs I bought many, many years ago.
My Bloody
I also
Valentine.
remember being correct.
You
Yes.
fuck.
I,
That's basic,
Are you
you
wearing the
fucking-
shirt?
Damn it.
I'm like, someone's gonna fucking ask one, and I'm gonna be ready for it.
Shit.
I was barely listening to what he was saying. I just knew like inherently that would be it.
Lucky,
It's
lucky.
This is the second one was good. It's insane that this movie only has one remake and that's it. No plethora of sequels, reboots, spin-offs, or anything.
It is very strange.
It is, yeah.
He's a great killer.
And then And then the last one, of all the stupid ass things youth and slasher movies have ever done, getting drunk and going down into a mine has to be top 3 worst ideas.
Alrighty. Closest within 2. Okay.
Oh,
Okay. Mhm.
yes.
How many times does Tree die in Happy Death Day? That's her name, right? Tree. That's not a typo.
I don't know.
I don't fucking care. The main character in Happy Death Day. How many times does she die?
Yes. A lot.
I'm gonna
Within-
go
Within
25.
26.
both you incorrect. The right answer is 11.
Really?
Wow,
That's it?
that little? Wow.
Yeah.
I thought she died. I thought they did a montage of her dying,
Well,
like in
That was
Groundhog's Day.
2. I
take it
think.
up with
Oh, that was 2.
Kayla.
Okay.
Yeah, I think so.
But
Yeah,
yeah,
it could be.
11.
It could be 2. Yeah. All right.
Never.
So my last one tonight is guess the movie based off the IMDb trivia.
I like these. I like
So
these.
there's 4 of them in total, just so you know.
Okay.
First one. The Liquor's nickname on set was Clint.
The Liquors.
The
Okay.
Liquor. Yeah. Part number 2. Body count 88.
Ooh.
Whoa.
Next one. The makeup department and crew had a hard time dealing with the dogs who kept licking the zombie makeup
Resident
blood.
Evil.
That's right.
I had it in the
Mm.
first one, but I'm like, let me make sure
88?
Oh yeah.
Dang.
because of the office workers.
Yeah,
all fucking
the
cranes.
first scene is like
Okay. Yeah.
I like that movie.
it's I mean
been a
it's
while.
it's like
It's the
Peninsula
best
for me.
one.
It's a good movie, but it's not a Resident Evil thing, to me.
Yeah. Definitely the best
Yeah.
one out of that series, though.
Oh yeah. I 4 I don't mind too much
Prison.
either.
Is that the prison one?
Yeah, it's the one that has like Chris Redfield and Jill Valentine with the
Mm.
thing. Like
Yeah.
How many are there?
Like 7?
Like
6 or 7, yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's that new movie and then the show. And
I think I stopped after like 2 or 3. I don't think I carried on.
Yeah, 4 is good. After that, it gets too
Yeah.
ridiculous.
all right. Tonight's numbers 2 apiece for me and Steve. Joe with 1. Joe still commands the lead with 12. Myself 10 and Steve 8. Let's do So I Married an Axe Murderer. Shouldn't there be a comma after so? Am I just being
No.
mean? So
no.
like if you're saying it in like a conversation, so I married an axe murderer. You wouldn't say like so I married an axe murderer. Doesn't
No,
doesn't flow.
it's actually so. I marry.
Don't get it.
Oh wait, I marry.
I hate him so
Ed.
much
Like,
with a fucking cigarette, fucking
and a
hipster
candle.
bitch.
Like,
All right, 93. Thomas Shalom. I probably said that name wrong, director. The honeymoon was killer. Just after a bad breakup, Charlie McKenzie falls for lovely butcher Harriet Michaels and introduces her to his parents. But as voracious consumers of sensational tabloids, his parents soon come to suspect that Harriet is actually a notorious killer named Mrs. X. Wanting a connection with a string of bizarre honeymoon killings, thinking his parents foolish, Charlie proposes to Harriet. This is not right? The parents
No, they never suspected.
no, they loved her from
Not
like
at
day
all.
one. What the fuck is
who wrote
this?
this?
it's
plot
'cause
synopsis.
that's where the newspaper comes from, and
Right.
the mom does mention that it could be, and that's what starts his suspicion. But that's it. That's nothing more than that.
Oh, okay. Well, blah blah blah. So we are introduced to Charlie, played by Mike Myers, not Michael Myers. He's in this 90s hipster comedy / coffee bar, which I fucking cannot stand. We learn through a conversation with him and his best friend, who happens to be a police detective in San Francisco, that he has commitment issues. So he always finds something wrong with the relationship he's in, leads to the breakup, and which also leads to his, if you want to call it comedy or poetry, whatever it is, routine in this little hipster bar. Eventually he buys some meat from a butcher, and it's a girl that, hot blonde that he likes. So he goes to talk to her. They spark up a relationship, and he, eventually falls in love. And here comes the cold feet again. But now is he legitimately thinking that she's a fucking serial killer? Because a lot of things point to her having connections to the news article. For example, one of the men that was killed was like a martial arts expert, and she has martial arts stuff in her apartment, and she's very vague on why she has it. So he's like, what the fuck? So we're kind of going along with Charlie, like, is it because he has commitment issues, or is she really a killer? And he decides to just take the plunge and date her and go all out. This is the first time since probably the 90s watching it. It used to be on TV quite a bit, and I had fond memories of it. But oh boy, I did not. This one was hard, man, because I still have his stupid song in my head. It was got to the point where it was just nonstop repeat in my head. Whoa, man. I'm like, who would? Does anyone like this form of entertainment? Because, I
In
please,
the 90s though, like beat
Yeah,
poetry like that was
beatbox.
like
Yeah,
definitely
what?
like popular.
He's so awful. Oh my God. Like you know what, Charlie, you're the fucking problem. You're the common denominator in everything. Like, you whiny fuck. But okay, so the things I liked about it were I think it had some legitimate heart in it, but I loved his friend, the detective, and the detective's captain. I thought those guys were super fun, and I would love to see a movie about them, especially when the captain's like trying to be firm and badass and stuff, but it's just not him. But he's like, did I go too much with the racial stereotypes? No, Captain, you did great. But overall, wasn't in this movie. But what do you guys have to say?
Yeah, I have like super fond memories of this movie from my childhood because, like you said, Todd, it was like on TV all the time for whatever reason. This came out like at the peak, I guess, of Mike Myers' popularity. Well, I don't know if Austin Powers would count, but like Wayne, this was right at
After
Wayne's
Wayne's World, yeah.
World. Like, yeah, like right after Wayne's World and like him on SNL and stuff like that. So this was definitely at a very popular time in Mike Myers' career. Yeah, so it's been a while since I'd seen it, but honestly, rewatching it, like it felt like I was like watching it for like the 100th time. Like, honestly, I remembered like everything about it. And Sam even was like, how do you remember like all of these, like, because I kept singing, all this poetry because I have it like memorized for whatever reason. It's fine. It's a very light-hearted, type movie. When the horror does come in towards the end, it's kind of like a interesting, like, who done it? Like, is it actually Harriet or is it someone else involved? We'll get into it. I honestly didn't see the killer coming. I think they do a pretty good job kind of keeping it mysterious. But yeah, I mean, it has its moments of being pretty funny. I agree. I love the friend and the detective. I really love just random scenes like Phil Hartman and Alcatraz. It was just maybe one of my favorite parts in the movie. Yeah, I mean, it's like a good cast of characters here. Was it necessary for Mike Myers to play his father as well? I don't know if that one hits as well, but yeah, I mean, it's fine. It I didn't remember it as fun. Like, watching it this time, I didn't love it as much as I did when I was younger. But overall, I had a pretty fun time with it.
romantic comedies are not exactly like what I love in movies. So, it's just not exactly a movie that would appeal to me normally. I do like Mike Myers though, and I like the 90s like comedies and stuff like that. So I thought it was a fine film. Like, it's not great by any means, not even that good. I don't think I'd ever watch it again, but I had a good enough time watching it. There's just some really random shit about this movie that I like. His family, I thought, were entertaining. You got, I mean, himself as the dad, who sounds just like he does when he's Fat Bastard in Austin Powers 2 and 3. Not so much Shrek. A lot of people are saying he's like Shrek, but I fear more the Fat Bastard than I do Shrek. And then you have the pigeon lady from Home Alone 2 as his mom, and Averman from Mike Ducks as his brother with the big head. Like, there's a whole scene where his brother's just like sitting in front of the TV and his dad's making 1,000 jokes about how big of a head he has. And I love like random shit like that. Like, that made me laugh. Like, I'd almost rather watch a movie about his family than I would about Mike Myers trying to date this girl. That's the romantic comedy part of it. Like, the romantic part, I didn't really dig that much. It was also a stretch. I mean, like, he goes to a butcher and she's just a little busy, and he's like, hey, I'll work for you because I've done this before. And she's like, yeah, sure, come into my business and handle the knives and all my expensive meat, and no problem.
Dude, so many health codes violated in that one scene.
No kidding.
That was a great scene though.
And
when he throws the meat, like,
right. And then I'm thinking, like, did he work there for like a month or something? Because there's this huge montage, but no, that was all one day apparently.
And then they bone that night, correct?
Not that night. They
No?
bone. Is it that night they bone?
I thought it was because they went from the montage to them
Maybe.
dating and then them boning. I'm like, no showers in between?
Right.
We're working in the butcher shop all day, guys. We got meat.
Yeah. It's just stuff like that was kind of ridiculous. I actually saw the killer coming a mile away. I mean, I figured they didn't bring Amanda Plummer just to fucking be a background character, essentially, like played for laughs. So I had a feeling that they used her specifically to be the killer, because I knew it wouldn't be like the main girl. That just wouldn't make sense, in 90s romantic comedy. The fucking poetry, oh god, it reminds me of college. So when I was in college, I did mostly film, but I also had like art classes that I had to take as part of my program, and I'd mix in with all the other arts. And there were people that were super pretentious like that in kind of the more artsy things part of the program, and they remind me of them. Just I couldn't with, especially the first one where he's blowing out the candle and he's pointing to everything, and the music that's matching his beats. It was just so fucking cheesy. And like Joe said, the random cameos were just entertaining. I love Phil Hartman, taken way fucking too soon because he's amazing. I think you have Michael Richards at some point, like super random cameo, and that was entertaining, but it's not a great film, but I enjoyed it.
Question for you guys. How the hell does Charlie afford a apartment in San Francisco off of like a month gig at a coffee shop? Explain it to me.
Yeah, I don't know. He must have some other job we're not really introduced to, I guess, because it's not important to the plot. But yeah, I will say, like, San Francisco looks really great in this movie. Like, I've never visited or anything like that, but
like
after watching this, I was like, place looks like a really nice place to visit.
It's not.
It's not.
It smells like pee.
Speaking of which, did you see her fucking apartment?
Like, yeah,
she's a butcher.
Well, she had 3 ex-husbands.
Yeah,
so
I guess so. Right?
Alimony.
Yeah, but they were murdered. I don't know if she'd get that money.
I feel like that case would have been solved extremely quickly if
you would
someone
think.
were to just look at it like he did.
And yeah, it was the 90s. I guess DNA wasn't as strong back then, but
especially after a wedding with like wedding photography and like all that.
Very true.
Yeah, a few things I hated that I noted. I hate overly ridiculous gags. Like I get that they're trying to make it funny, but when they try too hard to make it funny, I don't like it. Example to that, when he goes into the closet instead of exiting the room, there's a bunch of shit that falls on his head. That where the fuck did that shit come from? It makes absolutely no sense.
From the studio
right
walkway, Steve.
And one thing that I hate this is he broke the fourth wall in one of the scenes for a gag when he gets kicked in the nuts and then he kicks her in the vag. He like looks at the camera as he's doing it, and that I just don't like that. That takes me right out of the fucking movie. So I thought maybe the movie tried too hard to be funny, because there were some funny scenes, but when it's trying too hard, that doesn't work to me.
Mm-hmm. Did you? I mean, I guess we can get right into it. Did you guys ever suspect like Rose, Harriet's sister, of being the killer?
Yeah, the whole time, because I knew Amanda Plummer was brought in for that. Like, why else would you get Amanda Plummer, who just looks crazy, to be in that role? That it would have been a wasted casting. And she was big at that time. That's around the time she did Pulp Fiction and stuff. So I was convinced that was her from the second we met her. Now I wish there was a bigger like body count. If we're going on a horror podcast, there's a body count of 0 in this movie, unfortunately.
Right.
It would have been cool to see her actually kill, but yeah, wasn't a surprise to me.
Yeah, I don't. I thought they were like accomplices, like they were in on it together. But they didn't even handcuff her in the back of the police car. She just like is just straight chilling, and she's murdered 3 men and then probably more.
No, she's handcuffed.
No, she's not. She puts her hands on the back of the truck.
She's handcuffs from the front.
Well, that's not even good either.
I know. I noted it down. I'm like, why the fuck is she like so loose with her handcuffs?
Yeah, they're just like, all right, let's drive this murderer back. No biggie. Jeez.
Rose, jailbird.
Oh God, shut up! I can't, dude. And then he's on the rooftop and he's like got the jazz band that woo her back. I'm like, this girl should have left him. But a couple funny quotes when Mike Myers is describing one of his girlfriends that she smells like beef and vegetable soup. I thought that was a funny line. And his dad, when he's like, "Go try on one of your mom's bras, you wee girl," like just randomly. But what's up with Charlie's mom making out with Charlie's friend?
She's a horny old lady, and then they're at the wedding, and she's like trying to pull up his kilt too.
She's got like her finger in his ass crack, and that like, oh,
Yeah. I will say I love this scene when he has the Piper goes down from because he has him playing the solo of what was it, If You Want My Body. Yeah, that shit was funny.
Yeah, and
We have a Piper down.
My funniest scene is the breakfast scene where she offers him like this great breakfast, and it's just Fruit Loops.
Fruit Loops, yeah.
And he's trying to sell it like, all right.
Yeah, I thought another part I found funny was when he starts getting paranoid. He starts suspecting maybe Harriet really is the killer, and like they do this whole scene with the milkshake where like he won't drink the milkshake. Then they're in the bed, and she's like, "What? I could kill you right now," or whatever. And then she sticks her finger in his ear. He's like, "Ah!" and like freaks out. I thought that was pretty funny.
Milkshake my ass. That looked like a fucking like water with food coloring.
It was a smoothie, yeah. Yeah. I also enjoyed Stephen Wright as the pilot. How he like falls asleep. It was a fun little cameo.
I like the line too where she's asking what he sees in a woman, and what's he say? He says, "I know people say sense of humor, but I really have to go with breast size." That was like a great like delivery that he did. Oh, and I had some trivia lined up too in case I ran out of them. But do you know what horror movie was filmed in that comedy club?
Ooh, like in the comedy club he does the poetry in?
I'm sorry, in the final act in that big
hotel.
hotel.
The Poets Corner Hotel. Yeah, I really liked that setting. It was like really like creepy and cool looking.
It kind of looks like Rocky Horror, but it wouldn't be because it's probably in like London.
It was Phantasm.
Oh,
okay.
Nice.
Fun fact.
Cool. I loved that setting. That was a great little place. And like the storm I thought added to like sort of the creepiness to it and stuff. So it was, I like that whole thing when they go to Poets Corner. I like that whole sort of scene with him like being like kind of nervous of Harriet and Harriet acting really weird and stuff like that. I enjoyed all of that.
So Charlie, is he like legit a good guy? Because he has some pretty shitty moments that I'm like, why is it like it's played for laughs? But to me, there's a lot of red flags with this guy. For example, the scene where they're going to pay for the check when they're out on, I think they're on a double date, right? And him and his brother had go through this whole routine, like, no, you pay the check, you pay the check, you pay the check. When neither of them actually intended to pay the check, they wanted her to pay the check. So that was a weird scene to me. Like, I don't know, it just came
Charlie's
off
a
as
piece of
cheap,
shit, man.
right? Yeah, he's got major red flags. Like, he's not a.
Well, he has relationship problems. Like he has some really like bad sort of characteristics for sure. Like he can't commit to women and stuff like that.
I think it's pretty terrible that he puts his ex-girlfriends without their consent in his
their pictures.
Show. Yeah,
yeah.
He's
it's
basically
kind of
just fucking them over, and like if from it, like Steve said, whatever we see of him, like he's not the greatest person. So like putting them on blast is kind of shitty.
Yeah, and
she stole my heart and my cat.
Yeah.
That was kind of funny. You gotta say
yeah, that was funny. His flirting is super awkward too. He's like dancing like a ballerina. He's doing all these like weird like movements and dances and
his little eyes. He does.
Yeah. He makes these weird jokes like.
Oh God.
Yeah.
I read one review is like the most the hardest thing about this plot is believing that is casting Mike Myers in a lead fucking romantic comedy role.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I do miss those like crazy newspapers though. Like we talked about it a few episodes ago. I don't remember which
Weekly
episode.
World News, yeah.
Yeah. I miss those fucking crazy, those crazy newspapers.
They gotta be. Let's research this. There's got to be some kind of publications.
On like the Onion, I guess is kind of like that now.
Yeah,
but they're more serious.
Weekly World News probably still has like a website, but like they're not obviously like at the checkout. I just remember them like as a kid, the checkout stand
killed it.
Yeah. It did. Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
What's one that you remember? I remember Bat Boy, of course.
Bad Boy classic. I remember Hitler still alive. I remember that headline.
Heads in a jar. I've heard that one. My favorite one, because my mom used to buy it for me because I enjoyed it so much. And the one that really like I remember vividly was the Pope resurrected will fight current Pope for like to become new Pope or something like that. And there's a picture of the two popes like squaring up. I'm like, oh yeah,
that'd be a good Tubi movie.
Yeah, right. Good times.
I'll have you know it's the 8th highest circulating paper in the world.
Really?
That was the line from the movie.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's all I had, basically.
His dad's kind of an asshole too, though, because he makes fun of his son relentlessly.
Relentless. So
and he's
funny,
like fucking 13 or something.
Right.
He doesn't even get a line in the movie, I don't think, poor kid. He just gets made fun of.
You want to hear some of the best Weekly World News headlines of all time?
Of course.
Absolutely.
All right. Garden of Eden found. U.S. grows new tree from seed.
What? Okay. From Garden of Eden.
Yeah, that was from the Garden of
Okay.
Eden, yeah. Clinton hires 3-breasted intern.
You got that from Total Recall.
Right.
Alien and Slammer after fist fight with Bill over Hillary. It's a lot of I guess that was really popular when
in
Hillary
the 90s, yeah, right.
Yeah, Hillary Clinton adopts alien baby. 3-legged skater banned. I've seen Elvis in the flesh. Mermaid cemetery discovered. Baby born with tattoo of solar system. So there you go. There's plenty of other ones
Kinda
here,
like
but you know,
Waterworld plot.
Yeah, right,
world's
exactly.
world's strongest granny's 84 years old. That one isn't even that far fetched. I feel like
Right.
I've seen stuff like that. Oh, Half Man, Half Alligator, classic.
Oh yeah, that's a classic for sure.
All right, well, what's our final rating for this, Ben?
Yeah, I mean, we decided to do something a little different than our normal thing for, Valentine's Day. So, going a little out of our wheelhouse here, doing a comedy rather than a horror movie. It's fine. I had a good time watching it. Do I think it's anything amazing? Absolutely not. But it's lighthearted. It has moments of fun. Yeah, it's okay. I give it a 3 out of 5.
I don't like it. I just don't think Charlie's a good person, and he's an asshole, and Harriet is a sweet girl, and she deserves better. 2 out of 5.
Yeah. See, I guess I feel like in between you two. I didn't love it, but I didn't hate it. But somehow I still ended up with the same score as Todd, so I also gave it 2 out of 5. I'm happy I watched it. It was cool to kind of visit something lighter for the show, and I'd like to know if people want us to keep doing this, like this one time a year where we pick more of a, I guess, romantic comedy as opposed to with horror elements. Of course, we wouldn't just pick fucking, She's All That or something, but like My Boyfriend's Back or something like that.
Oh yeah, My Boyfriend's Back, yeah.
For this time of year. So yeah,
My Boyfriend's Back is a lot more horror than
it's about a
one,
zombie, right? So
yeah,
at least
right, yeah.
Yeah, it'd be more like Warm Bodies, I guess, than.
And there's actual kills in it.
Oh, yeah, that was disappointing. I really wish there was they had that whole scene like almost like Clue at the end where they could have just popped off some of the people at that dinner at the end, just add to the book count.
Yeah, I mean, and realistically though, yeah, I mean, Rose would have been fucking found a lot earlier, I think, after, and like how, I don't. It's interesting because like her husbands keep dying and disappearing, and the cops are just like, oh, okay, like wouldn't they be tailing her or something like that?
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense too, because from her point of view, they left her, but then they turn up dead. The first person you would have gone to is her, because she's not like in hiding, because she didn't do anything wrong in her opinion, right? So she has no reason to disappear. So yeah, it's a huge plot hole if you look at it.
Yeah, and like, what was Rose's like end game? Like, if she killed Charlie there, like, is that like a fucking like huge? Like, is that like this massive like hotel bed and breakfast? Like, how would she have gotten the body like out of there without anyone just like noticing? She really didn't think this one through, that Rose.
No, she didn't. And I'm also curious, like he's not that successful, so it's not like what I don't know. She just likes killing her husbands, I guess.
Yeah, I think a year after this movie, he's probably given up the stupid routine and is working in the butcher shop. And they work there till they're 45 years old, and that's it. Or not 45 years old, but
I was gonna say
45
damn,
years in the
that's
future.
a great job. Yeah, no, I don't know. I think he'd continue with that because right after the events of the movie, he's right back into his fucking poetry. So
Yeah.
Yeah, but his material's done though. After that,
I'm sure he'll find something else. I'm sure.
yeah. I stubbed my toe.
He'll probably divorce Harriet
really
and then have a new
hurt.
poem.
I hate him.
Fun trivia fact: Nancy Travis actually was so distracted by Mike Myers during the butcher shop scene that she accidentally cut off the tip of her middle finger.
Mm,
So there you go.
yes, I guess he is charming.
Maybe. And that's what else do I got here? Sharon Stone was initially set to play the role of Harriet.
Oof, hottie.
That would have been a different movie. No, but Steve, the end song should be "There She Goes" for this podcast.
Oh my god, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. God, they play that song fucking 5 times in the movie. Every time there's a montage, it's "There She Goes." Oh god, I hate they do that so much in the 90s where they stick to one song. Awful.
Interesting. Mike Myers was in the makeup chair for 3.5 hours when playing his dad. Like, I feel like there wasn't even that much prosthetics involved in that one.
Yeah,
I feel like he just put on old man glasses.
Obviously, Mike Myers, when you look at him, they failed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, we all done for this episode, gents?
Yep.
All right, guys, that is going to be it for this episode. We hope you enjoyed our review of So I Married an Axe Murderer. The next few weeks, we're going to be doing staff picks. So I was first up, so I decided to pick 1990-something's urban legend. So yeah, one I haven't watched in a while. I've been wanting to revisit it, so I'm excited to check that out. We have the whole schedule, actually. We have a schedule over the next month. You can check it out over on our Discord, which is the best way to check out, to follow the podcast. All you got to do is send us a DM and we will get you a link to that Discord. It is completely free to join. You can also follow us on any of our other social medias, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or you can email us at any time, the Horror Squad Podcast at gmail.com. And yeah, don't forget Texas Frightmare Weekend coming up in May. If you want to come join us, there's going to be a lot of fellow listeners there, as well as Steve and I. So yeah, it's going to be a great time. Hopefully you make it out for that. We'll see you guys next week for Urban Legend. But don't forget, immediately following this, we have our interview with Steve.
Patrick Rea.
All right, so enjoy, and we'll see you guys next week. Bye.
Bye. Welcome back, everyone, to the Horror Squad podcast, where today we have a very special guest. He is the writer and director of the new film They Wait in the Dark, which you can find digitally today on VOD. Patrick Rea. Thanks for coming on the show, Patrick.
Thank you for having me.
Can you tell us a little bit about what They Wait in the Dark is all about?
I would categorize it as a supernatural thriller. It kind of starts off as a thriller where it's a mom and her son, and they're on the run from somebody. We later find out it's her ex-girlfriend. And the mom and son take refuge in her childhood home, which is on a farm in Kansas, kind of in the middle of nowhere. And while they're staying in the house, they start experiencing something very supernatural, and basically the house is haunted. And from there, it takes some turns and some surprises. But we've got the threat on the outside, which is basically the Judith character who's coming after her, and then she feels like she's trapped inside the house. And so I kind of wanted to make it feel like that specific character has nowhere to go. So yeah, that's kind of the main crux with. I don't want to say anything about the last act of the film. So
right, absolutely. What was your inspiration in wanting to tell this particular story?
I've always wanted to make a ghost story movie. I've done other I've stuck to the horror genre, but I've done different subgenres of horror, and I hadn't made a haunted house movie before. So I was trying to come up with a fresh spin on a haunted house movie, because I felt like everything's been done to death in every variation. There's 200 Amityville movies at this point. So yeah. I was like, I got to come up with something fresh. So I wanted to combine it with a thriller and kind of make it something that felt a little bit newer to the audience, and something that had some surprises And I've told people this before, but for me, the biggest problem with a lot of haunted house movies is that I always am like, why do they stay? Just get in the car and leave. And so I think any normal person would probably, once they see some stuff move around or something, they'd be like, okay, we're out of here. So I try to give the audience enough of a reason for them to believe that she wouldn't actually leave because she feels like she's hiding from something else that's more, of a real threat. And by the time she realizes what's actually happening in the house, it's too late because the real threat is closing in on her. So for me, that was kind of my solution to coming up with something that I felt like was kind of a newer vantage point on the haunted house story.
First, thank you for not making another Amityville film. We really don't need another Amityville film.
Amityville Thanksgiving. We've got so many Amityville movies at this point.
Absolutely. One thing that really struck me with this film is the really great performances from the cast.
Sure.
How is it working with those actors on set, given how dark of a story this was?
So yeah, I wrote the script specifically for Sarah McGuire because we had worked together on several films. I actually did a couple of short films with her where she was playing parts that I felt like really dealt with psychological issues. And so I was like, we really need to make a feature film together. And she and I had talked about it. So I had written the script around her, knowing that she was going to be the lead and really nail the performance. And as far as the other casting goes, the character of Judith is played by Laurie Winkle, and I've known her since the mid 2000s. We were all kind of in the same group in Lawrence, Kansas, because we all went to KU for film school. But she and I had never actually gotten to work together on anything before. She had been messaging me, hey, when are we finally going to work together? So finally, I said, I've got a role that you might be good for. So she auditioned for it. And so luckily, Laurie and Sarah had already known each other. They've been friends. So that created kind of a rapport that I thought, would work, because they're never really in the movie together until the final moments of the film. I mean, it helped that they were on set with each other all the time. Laurie would hang out when her scenes weren't being filmed. So that kind of helped with the rapport. But yeah, it was funny because like watching the movie, there's like a sense of like dread, and it seems like nobody's enjoying themselves, which couldn't be further from the truth, because the second I would yell cut, we would make some inappropriate jokes or whatever. And we kept the feel of the set very light.
Great. How much input did you have in some of the makeup designs for the supernatural elements in this film?
Jake Jackson was the makeup artist. I'm glad you asked that question, because he's a fantastic makeup artist. And he and I worked very closely together. We wanted to do kind of a Lucio Fulci kind of, thing with her eyes and stuff like that, And so we worked very carefully together with it. He, we had some examples that we were going back and forth with. We wanted to obviously do something a little different. And one of those things, the actress was such a trooper, because obviously the makeup took a long time, and the contacts made her completely blind. So we had to walk her around the house so she didn't trip on anything, because the house really looked like that for the most part. That wasn't production design. We were very, very lucky, because you're making a low budget movie in 12 days. You don't have a lot of time and money to find a location and set dress it.
Right.
And then you have to pay if somebody actually lives in the house, you got to pay for them to stay in a hotel the whole time. So we were able to find a house that was basically abandoned since like 2008 or something like that. And that everything that was in there was still in there. But we had to make that house like actually a little safer. I mean, there were like rat poop droppings everywhere. There was a snake skin that was so long in the basement, and we're like, where's the snake?
Jeez.
So those are the things that like we were dealing with. But I mean, it was pretty straightforward. The only thing that was a little frustrating about, or I wouldn't say frustrating, but challenging about shooting in that house, was it was being renovated as we were filming. So it's one of those things where they're like, the kitchen's going to have new cabinets tomorrow, so you better film all the scenes in the kitchen now. All right. Okay. And the next day we came back and there were cabinets, and we filmed overnight. So it was one of those things where we would get in at 5 p.m. just as the construction people were leaving, so, but yeah, it was, I've gone on so many tangents. Sorry.
That's all good. It's great.
With the makeup we definitely collaborated very well, and he's worked on a lot of my projects. So, I always know that it's going to be good working with him.
Awesome. You've written and directed a lot of horror projects in your career. Which horror films or directors have inspired you as a filmmaker?
Well, it's interesting because it's like I was a kid in the 80s, so I always have sort of this 80s horror love, like, I mean, John Carpenter is probably my favorite director. His body of work from like 1978 to 1988, I think, is like the most amazing,
Right.
I'm like, how many people had that many great movies in a row? I mean, obviously Spielberg, I'd be lying if that wasn't an influence. I love Raiders of the Lost Ark, is like my favorite movie of all time. So there's like a combination of horror and then like movies like that, Jaws, that I would say are inspiration, and continue to be. So
great. What is it about horror films specifically that you like so much compared to other genres?
I think for me, in terms of making a horror movie, they definitely lend themselves to low budget, to micro budget filmmaking, because you can do them on a limited with limited resources and be creative in coming up with solutions on how to fix problems and be clever in that way. I don't know, like I was told not to watch horror movies when I was a kid in the 80s, and so I did anyway. So therefore it's like, I think if my parents had let me watch a bunch of horror movies in the 80s, maybe I'd have zero interest in them. I don't know. But it kind of worked out that way, where I'm like, oh, okay. I saw a meme the other day where I talking about how like they're like back in the 80s, you had like, Nickelodeon was on your like last channel so that you could switch back to it really fast when your parents came upstairs. And I remember doing that, where I'd be watching a horror movie and then I'd hear my parents coming up the stairs and I'm like, all right, I'm switching it to Nickelodeon now. And then they would obviously know what I was doing. But,
Well, they might not go to horror specifically, but
right. Yeah. So, or like watching Cinemax through the scan lines back in the day and seeing a horror movie that way. I think that's how I watched one of the Friday the 13th movies back in the day. But yeah, I think for me, like, I watch almost every horror movie that gets released. And I feel like the genre is always, how many genres do you have like actual conventions for? There's no romantic comedy convention, and the horror genre has so many subgenres. There's vampires, ghost stories, there's found footage. So there's so many things that you can, grab onto and enjoy.
Right. You were talking before about wanting to do films in different subgenres of horror. When deciding your next project, what is it exactly you're looking for? Are you actually aiming for a certain subgenre, or are you just kind of looking for inspiration elsewhere?
It depends. Like I have an idea I have different ideas for different subgenres. Like I want to make a vampire movie, and then I've got like one good decent found footage idea that I might want to try at some point. But it just depends on what I think I can't get out of my head at the time. I feel like you just kind of know when you're settling on a project. You're like, okay, because I always tell people you better love it, because it's a marathon making a feature. Because you got to stick with it to get it finished, and it can take a couple years. I mean, this one was probably our fastest turnaround. We shot in 2021, and I had it mostly edited by December, and then we started doing, obviously all the sound and color and stuff. But so, I'm always looking at what I can accomplish too. Like I don't write a bunch of car chases in my films, though I definitely want. At some point, I want to do one, but whenever I'm making a horror movie, I'm thinking, okay, what can we actually achieve? And that's what's great about horror, is that you can achieve something effective. Like look at Skinamarink, which is like very minimalist and has made some waves because of that. So, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And is there any other projects that you're working on, or anything you'd like to promote that's coming up?
Well, I've got a couple new short films that I shot over the fall, and one of them actually has Cooper Andrews, who plays Jerry in Walking Dead. Yeah. So we shot that in November, and I'm finishing up. The edit is pretty much locked at this point, so now it's moving to color and all that stuff. And then I have a couple features in the works. I always try to get 3 or 4 maybes, and maybe one of them will actually happen. And it's so funny, because then I'll have a script that I wrote and spent all this time on, and then I'll see like Blumhouse is making something that's exactly the same. So I'm like, well, I'm glad I have 3 or 4 different options of projects I can be working on.
Right.
So, I mean, hopefully, fingers crossed, because we're in the fundraising, part of the process right now, which for me is like the most painful part of it, So hopefully we have something that we get going by the end of the year, or hopefully maybe in the middle, by the summer, maybe we'll be shooting something.
Awesome. And if anyone would like to kind of follow your career and see what's going on, do you have any like social medias or anything that you can tell us?
Yeah, I'm on Facebook. I think I'm under Patrick M. Rea. My middle name is Michael, so Patrick M. Rea. I think I'm same on Instagram.
Okay.
So you can follow, like, I'm always posting stuff about like where the movies are playing or what kind of coverage they're getting and stuff. So I try to keep everybody up to date on those things. So, and I'm on Twitter as well, and I think it's the same. I kept it everything kind of the same so people can find me. So
that's awesome. So thank you very much for coming on the show. We really appreciate it. They Wait in the Dark can be seen today on video on demand. Thank you very much, and I really appreciate your time.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thanks. Have a good one.